Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Great to see y'all on this call this morning.
In a while since we've done this, but we've got some exciting topics for you guys today. And let's go straight into our agenda. There we go. So we've got Glenn, our senior developer, as you all know Glenn. He will spend about 7 to 10 minutes sharing a few Panther updates. The first will be related to your Oracle folks that use our Panther driver. He's got a few updates related to that, as well as if you're using our Java interface, we've got some news, some updates to in that on those topics. And then we've got a special guest, Stuart from our UK office. He'll be talking about our own homegrown tool called Adam, the automated database agnostic migration tool. Very interesting stuff here. And then we'll open it up to questions, but feel free to stop any of the speakers at any time if you've got questions for them. So let's move on to Glenn Silverberg. He doesn't need an introduction. We all know Glenn. So take it away, Glenn.
Hello, everybody. I'll talk to you a bit about some updates we've been doing to Panther. So as some of you know, our original Panther and Jam database driver came in two different flavors. One is the Pro C driver, and the other was the OCI driver. And these are both both allow you to write your SQL statements in JPL and use our transaction manager and so forth. The Pro C driver is a little bit less feature rich, but we provide the source code for that so that you can make customizations to it. The OCI driver originally was written using OCI 7 APIs. And around 2016, 2017, we decided to rewrite that driver using only OCI 8 APIs because some of our customers expressed concerns that the OCI 7 APIs were deprecated by Oracle, although they still worked. And in some of these older OCI 7 drivers, some of them still work. Towards the end, in the early 2000s, we started adding some OCI 8 calls into those drivers in order to add some features. And the mix of those two did seem to sit well with Oracle, and some of those don't work with recent versions of Oracle. So the older ones mostly do work, in fact, that only have the OCI 7 APIs, even though these APIs are deprecated. So we started including the new driver in Panther 5.51. Since then, we've made a lot of patch builds for the newer driver to different versions of Panther since Panther 4.0. We've done it on different platforms. We actually spend a lot of time just building patches for old versions of Panther, for all different kinds of patches, just so that we can support all of our customers that don't really want to upgrade. They just want certain things fixed. And most recently, we did a patch for this particular driver for 32-bit Panther 4.00 for AIX 7.1. So this driver has gotten much more robust since more customers have adopted it. For Panther, between Panther 5.53 and Panther 5.54, we had only 2 bug fixes, which you can see on the screen. Since Panther 5.54, we've had 2 more bug fixes. One is to support table types that are built-in table types. So the varchar 2s is it's a type that's in the DBMS SQL package, which comes with Oracle. And for that one, if you were returning that type into a Panther array, that did not work. So that's one of the bug fixes. And it's related to changes to Oracle that they made on the server side back around Oracle 12c to remove the type definitions for stored procedures in their system tables. And that meant that we had to do a workaround in our code to solve that problem. There's also a workaround that you can do with altering your session and recompiling your stored procedures to make that work. And then the other change we made is for overloaded stored procedures and functions, which we found did not work. That's when you have different numbers or types of arguments for the same stored procedure or stored function that has the same function name or procedure name. Let's move on to the next slide. So, so this is, some of you know, perhaps, Jakarta EE is the successor to JEE, formerly known as J2EE. And we found that most of the major JEE application servers have now moved to Jakarta EE, including WebSphere Liberty, not the traditional WebSphere application server, but WebSphere Liberty, Glassfish, and also Tom EE, Apache Tom EE. So we wanted to move to that as well. We have one customer who wants to continue to use Tom EE on a more recent version of it and needed that functionality. So in order to do that, we've had to change our Java source code. Mostly it's Java source code changes, some C code changes. It's mainly just the change between the JavaX package type and the Jakarta package, I should say JavaX package name, and you just move that to the Jakarta package name, and the classes are mostly the same. There's some minor functionality changes. Jakarta EE does not support RMI using IAOP. The Corba has been removed from it, but you can use a different EJB transport to do remote invocations of your EJBs from Panther clients. That is still supported. Let's see. Other than that, I would say we had to change the make EJB utility so that you can build EJBs with so that they have the correct Java code for Jakarta. We're also supporting OpenJDK 17 and later. So the next version of Panther, which would be Panther 5.55, that will be built using OpenJDK 17. And we're going to compile against Tom EE version 9.1 class files. So that's about it. I will turn it back over to Amrith.
Thank you, Glenn. Any questions on the Oracle and the Jakarta EE updates? Nope. All right. Excellent. Thank you, Glenn. Let's move over to Stuart Hodges. Stuart is our practice director out in the UK office. He knows all about data, so he will be the best person to explain our new tool here. Go ahead, Stuart.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me, and thank you for your time. So we want to just give you a little bit of background on our automated database agnostic migrator. It's a bit of a mouthful, so we call it ADAM for short. We'll give you a bit of background on why we created it and the benefits and kind of how it works. And we are finding that actually database migration is a thing that a lot of people are engaged with at the moment for various reasons that I'll talk about as we go through. So if I kind of start at the beginning, why would we create such a thing? Well, we were working with a software vendor and we were doing, as prolifics you may not know, but we do a lot of testing. And we were doing their testing as they were migrating between Oracle and SQL Server, and also SQL Server to Oracle for different reasons. And they were basically finding that difficult, and they asked if we could help. So we started getting involved in that, and we started doing the migration in the way that you would think you would do a migration, which was count the lines of code and start getting involved in that. But we quickly realized that that was not the right way of doing it. So we then ended up trying to work out the best way of actually being able to do this. And from that, we ended up creating our own tool. So first question, are there other tools out there that can do the same thing? Well, that's what we thought. And so we tried to go out to the market to find those tools and to use them, because we didn't want to create our own. But for a lot of reasons, they were not, the tools that are out there are not what we needed, or actually what anyone needs. Now, we've been through this quite a few times. They have a number of flaws, and the typical flaws in those are they're very, very opaque, and that they're very black box. If you give it 100 lines of code, you'll get, or rather 10,000 lines of code, you'll get 11,000 lines back, and you have no idea what changed and what's converted and what's worked and what hasn't. They're not customizable, so if you have a new pattern or a new type of code that you need to put in, you can't really do any of that kind of thing. And so they don't allow you to estimate the effort that it takes to actually do that migration, because not everything automates. So the tools we found, the tools that were out there, did not do what we needed them to do. So we created our own tool, and the reason that benefits you is because as Prolifics, we are now able to do very accurate assessments of migrations from any database to any database. Pretty much, if it's relational, we can do it, and then give you an idea of what's involved in doing that, the timescales it will take, and really the level of complexity and the cost of doing that. So that's kind of what we're doing, and we're working with a lot of customers at the moment. We've probably got about 6 or 7 that are ongoing as we speak at the moment, different migrations. So there's lots going on, and this is becoming very popular. So just over to the next slide if I can, please. Okay, so what have we found the typical migration challenges? Well, when we first started doing migrations, we found that the challenges around migrations are mainly about risk, because you don't know when you have 10,000 lines of code or 100,000 lines of code if that's complex or not, because the amount of code, the amount of SQL you have does not define the complexity. The complexity is what's been done within the SQL. So we found that actually the risks involved in doing a migration are a lot around complexity, and then that leads into your timelines, because you'll estimate based on that and then get them wrong. I got them wrong when we first started going down this route. So now we know what we weren't doing right in that, and therefore your cost and the whole project cost extends out. So actually migration risk is a big problem, but also auditability, knowing what's been changed as you go through. And if you can't see what's been changed, your testing becomes a real problem. And also we found there's a big lack of migration expertise out in the market, because it's not a thing that people do very often. If you need to migrate between databases, typically people will do it once or maybe twice, but they won't have to keep turning it over, which is why actually having our own tooling has allowed us to basically become experts in doing these types of migrations. So just move to the next slide if I can. So yeah, so what do we do? Well, very simply, and if anyone wants a separate session on this, because I'm really scratching the surface, I'm more than happy to talk to anyone, on a personal or do a deeper presentation. But what we typically do is assess all the DDL that you have, all your code. We look at tables, stored procedures, queries, triggers, everything that's in there. And then we provide an estimate, and that estimate is based on that we can automatically convert, of which there's normally quite a high percentage. That we can convert, but we need to tell you about, because there might be different options, different ways of converting SQL, and we tell you which route we're taking to make sure that agrees with you. We'll tell you that you've done in a different way, but we can customize. We can amend our tooling to cope with your code, and that which isn't supported between databases. So therefore, we need to re-engineer something. But by being able to bucket all your code into those 4 areas, then we can very accurately say how complex a migration will be, and therefore the cost estimate and timelines to do that migration. We've done quite a lot of these now, and we're pretty good at getting that right. And move on to the next slide, please. So you'll note that I haven't actually mentioned any kinds of database yet, because in the clues in the title, it is database agnostic. It is relational database to relational database. However, we are seeing trends in the market. We're seeing common patterns and common reasons for people to move off databases. And what we're seeing, you may have seen this yourself, as one of those things is moving off Sybase. Now, Sybase is a database that's been around for a long time, and it's moving towards end of life, and people are now looking to move off that. And actually, a lot of Sybase skills have disappeared. It's actually quite a, it's not, it's, you know, it's got some transactional SQL within there. It's not necessarily the easiest one to move off, but we're pretty, you know, we've got all that built into the tool. We know how to migrate off Sybase. And note again, we're not saying where you go to. People are moving to different places from Sybase, but we can migrate to wherever you want to go to. Second one we're seeing is moving off Oracle. We see quite a lot of that at the moment, and that's mainly due to license costs. Actually, people are finding that the license costs of Oracle estates is quite expensive. The renewals are expensive, and people get audited, and therefore they look to reduce costs. And we've seen reductions in license costs on your Oracle estate of between sort of 60 and 80% by moving to other databases. So we see quite a lot of people looking to migrate off Oracle. And also we see a bit of a trend moving towards Postgres. Postgres and EDB is one flavor of Postgres, but Postgres in general, because it's open source, because you're not tied into legacy vendors, and also because of a lot of the skills that are out there with Postgres. Postgres is used a lot in universities now. It's become kind of one of the main databases that students use when they're doing their studying, which means that as people are leaving university and coming into the working world, they're becoming more accepting of Postgres. When I was doing this many years ago, 25 years ago, maybe even 30 years ago, we used Oracle. Oracle was the kind of the vendor that people did that with, but not so much now. Seems to be Postgres. So for many reasons, you know, people are moving, and there's volatility in the database market. And you know, we have what we would say is probably the world leading solution of that allows you to migrate your SQL. Now I know that there's other things within a database migration, and you know, and Prolifics as a company has the ability to cover all those things. But really, that's my that's kind of my time up. I didn't want to take too much of your time to talk about this, but yes, hopefully that's given you a bit of a flavour of what it is that we have, what we've developed, and how it works. And if you want to do a deeper dive at any time, contact Amrith, contact Glenn. They know where I am, and I'm more than happy to speak to you about that and give you, you know, a demonstration, show you what it is that we're doing. And even as we say there, if you can provide some SQL, we'll assess that for you. We'll give that back to you and tell you what the effort to migrate that would be, and we'll do that for Panther customers. Normally we charge for that, but as you've given me a time, then we'd do something around that in order to kind of give you an idea of the effort of migration of certain databases. So yes, Amrit, that's my time up. I've had my timer next to me, so I'm definitely at the end of my slot. So if you have any questions, please fire away now.
Yep. Thank you, Stuart. Yep. Any questions for Stuart? Joseph,
Well,
I know you. Yes,
I'll
go
ask
ahead.
a question if nobody else is going to ask a question.
Sure.
Obviously beyond, and we talked about this, Stuart, about how you can do you can migrate stored procedures,
Yeah.
and those are tough. But you know, a lot of our customers have their database client, you know, SQL code embedded in our JPL programming language.
Yes.
So I just wanted to ask you if you could address how, you know, how that would be, how your tool would handle that.
So we are able to, within certain languages, Java being one, then we're able to strip out the SQL from application code and convert that. So we can do that if that's, you know, something that needs doing. Then we don't have every language covered because we haven't been asked to do it yet, but we've found that actually our parsers that effectively will run through that code are able to strip out the SQL statements and then convert those. So code within application code we can help you with.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing, that it wouldn't be that difficult for you to work, you know, modify the tool to work with our
No,
own
it's not.
language.
No, it's not. It's fine. It's the principles of how the tooling works, how it passes the SQL, apply to application code as well. We just ignore everything that isn't what we need.
All right.
I don't have any questions. Thank you, Amber.
No, No
Okay.
problem. No
Well, thank
problem.
you
I
for your
was just
time,
wondering.
everyone.
Yes, thank you so much. So if y'all need to reach out to Stuart, you know how to reach him. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. I appreciate your time, and we will all talk soon. Goodbye, everyone.